Welcome, guys, to the budget. Try to come up with a good budget. Make sure we survive another year for fiscal 25. Turn your phones off or put them on vibrate and then stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Didn't somebody say the Pledge of Allegiance on TV just recently and they got it wrong? Yeah. Counselor Mira.
Here.
Counselor Woolman.
Here.
Counselor Knight.
Here.
Counselor Murray.
Here.
Okay. We have two to come. So I would like to turn this over to Mr. Curry. Just promoted you, I guess.
All right.
We've got a preliminary budget here for you this afternoon, and I think one of the things that I would emphasize about it is a budget that is basically continuing to try to build the sustainability of a good workforce and also at sometimes expand it. Out of our budget that we have this year, 66% of the budget is for employees' salary and benefits. And that includes a increase of $1,131,000 as we go forward. But some of the highlights that kind of demonstrate how we're looking at this from trying to build a strong employee base here that again is sustainable. An example is that we're going to have an overall 3.8, we're proposing a 3.8 cost of living increase for all employees. We're proposing in the area of police para that they go up to tier 3 at no cost to the police officers. Fire will increase also to step 3 for their firefighters, again with no cost to the firefighters. We are adding a few employees as we go along. But again, if you look at the fact that 66% of the budget is based on employee benefits and salaries, we feel that we need to continue to build on our employees and make ourselves competitive with the communities around us. There are some areas that we're very competitive with, both Albuquerque and Rio Ranchos, but we still feel like we have to continue to build. And we do that through salary increases, benefits for para. An interesting figure for you to keep in mind, let's jump forward to 2.5 months from now, and it's the middle of July. Middle of July, the village of Corrales will have 82 employees, counting full-time and part-time employees. And some of those will be at the swimming pool in the form of lifeguards. Some of those will be at the fire department in the form of the Youth Conservation Corps. One of the nice things about the Youth Conservation Corps, I think this is the first time it's been back since 2019, maybe. And the funds that are expended for those folks that come in and help out in that area are refunded to us. So for the village of Corrales that has a population north of 8,000 and having 82 employees is certainly a high ratio of employees to citizens. But what we're also building in there is youth having a place to work, whether it's at the swimming pool or whether it's in the Youth Conservation Corps. And I think that's commendable for the village as a whole as we go forward. But as we look at the budget, it is definitely focused on the employees and building that up. So I mentioned the raises earlier. I'll go a few other highlights in the budget that you can discuss with our department heads and all of us.
Could you remind me again, what was their raise, 3 point something?
3.8%,
Okay.
which by the way is the same increase as for those of you who get it Social Security.
But not necessarily for this year. I mean, we'll know in October, but
Well,
Yeah.
but for the year
That's
that
good.
started
Yeah.
in 2024.
Ron, can I ask you a question? The 82 current staffing in July, what was it in April?
Well, right now, if you looked at full-time equivalent employees, we're pushing right around 52.
52.
Mhm.
So is the youth and the lifeguards considered full-time or are they part-time?
Part-time, temporary.
Okay.
So as we looked at that pay increase, the benefits are $128,000 out of that, for a total of $248,000 for benefits and employee increases. The healthcare expenses went up 3.5%, which in some cases isn't too bad for some of the other numbers that we've seen around the country. And then for 3 elected officials, the raises amounted to, will amount to in this budget, $16,200. And that includes just the 3 counselors, because the judge did not get a raise, nor did the mayor. Because even though the judge won re-election, she did not fall into that category for getting a raise. One of the things that we can discuss if you want to is that the judge has employed during the course of the year some substitute judges as we've gone through the year because of her schedule taking her away from the court. So it's better to hire a substitute judge instead of getting a docket that gets so big that it takes days and days and days to get through it. We'll be looking at some new positions in Parks and Rec due to the new gym opening and the traffic that's going on over there. I mentioned earlier, the police are going up to stage 3 as well, the fire tier 3 as well as the firefighters on para. We had some other ones, the Applewood Bridge, which I know Anthony's happy to talk about, as you know, that's an increase of $105,000 one-time expenditure. One of the things too that I think we need to point out is that we put in there $60,000 for a potential general services new architect and $30,000 for public works to look at signs. I think it was Councilor Murray that suggested those. One of the things that's really important to public works as we go forward, and we've added $250,000 to their budget so that they have monies available if they have the opportunity to get a grant, and we have to put some matching funds in at the beginning of it. So any matching funds that we put in, of course, sometimes we get them back, but we need to be able to have them to get the project kicked off. So we've added that $250,000 in there. We anticipated having that money through the bonds, but that didn't come through. So we're putting it in the budget at $250,000 to give Michael some opportunities if they come up. So one of the other things which I think is terrific, if you know Steve and the other folks that work for Michael, we're got 1 new employee and raises for wastewater certifications. Because as many of you know or may not know, Michael will be retiring sometime in the next
20 years.
some period of time. And so we're getting people in here to be able to operate wastewater systems. And that goes along with the idea that we're trying to expand on our wastewater systems that we have as we go forward. And again, trying to expand on the wastewater system so that we can protect the well waters within the village. So again, I will repeat that we're looking at a employee-based stability, sustainable budget. And we think it's a good budget. It's an increase overall right at 11%, a little over 11, a little north of 11%. And so what I'm going to do now is you're going to have the opportunity to talk in each one of our departments, be able to answer questions as you have them based upon the fact that you've had some time with the budget. But I'm going to ask Raina now to kind of kick this thing off with some of her thoughts on an overview. And then as you want to go line by line, you want to go by department, and we'll be looking at just general fund items here. We won't be looking at any of the grants because they're pretty much fixed in place.
Ron, I want to ask you a question because I know this month the jobs report came out that it was a little on the soft side for the nation. I'm just asking you to put your thinking cap on and look at towards the future. Where do you think the GRT is going to be? Do you think we'll maintain the GRT, or because it looks like maybe the economy might be tending to slow down a little bit?
I think that both those scenarios are true. I think we're going to be able to maintain the GRT because here in Corrales, as you well know, we've got 2 new restaurants that are opening up. Burke is one of the biggest supplier of GRTs, and a lot of his business comes from out of state business. In fact, depending on the day, maybe 50% of them comes from out of state. So those GRTs should remain. And then another thing that I want to bring up is that, you know, when Sky came in as deputy clerk, there were 621 business licenses or permits in the village, home ox, et cetera. So she's worked diligently, sometimes frustratingly so. I could hear her pounding on my wall every now and then through the office when she's trying to find these business permit folks. So we had 621 business permits in the village in July of 2022. And as of March of this year, we had 907 business permits. So that's a substantial increase. It's also getting some people on the rolls that weren't necessarily on the rolls before, or getting them current. So to me, that's a good leading indicator if you want to look at it from an economic point of view, that we're going to continue to get that. I know Amazon sales continue to grow, and as they grow, we'll continue to collect that GRT through there. We're still building homes. I think I gave to you a couple of months ago that we still have a number of vacant lots in the village, and you know, the northwest sector is not even close to being developed yet, but the opportunity for that to continue will also. So long answer, Counselor, but I think it's going to continue to grow. I don't know it's going to grow at the rate as fast as it did coming out of COVID. At a percentage rate, it may grow in real dollars and continue to grow in real dollars.
Does I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I appreciate that you want Raina to go through everything. But I went through everything and I have the pages numbered about things that I'm concerned about. Is there any way I can ask her about those?
Yeah, you know, this is, you know, kind of an open forum where you guys get as much information as you can get. And that's why we have all the folks here. So she can kind of lead off, and then whenever you want to ask a particular question, just fire away.
But let her finish because she's got it all organized and she may answer your questions before you.
Okay.
Okay.
Just wait, I'll hold on my questions.
Good afternoon, Mayor, councilors. Mostly going to be discussing the general fund. Budgeted
Not sure it's on.
Form this budget is all the directors and the
want to interrupt you. I mean, if you want, if this is the way it was organized, go right ahead and I'll wait.
Thank you.
Sure.
So our first one is the executive. Like Ron said, the only changes we made was to the raises and benefits. If you see all the numbers, the rest of the numbers, they should still be the same. And now we're gonna go to court, and Commander Latin is our new judge today, so she's gonna be handling the court. If you guys have any questions on that. What we changed in the court budget is, again, the salaries with the 3.8% increase and the benefits. And then on maintenance contracts, we went higher because they don't have court fees anymore. Those are ending July 1st. And then we also need to add more funds for a translator and for AOC training. So Tanya, do you have anything to add to that?
No, the judge did state that that fund is going up because there's a set list of translators and that are allowed to be used, they're court approved, and their rates are gonna go up. And then she right now pays a judge $100 for a session, so it's 4 hours if it's a morning session, 4 hours if it's an afternoon. So it could be 200 for a day, but she would like to increase them since they're putting in that much time to 150.
You all have any questions about that one? Okay, page 4 is finance and administration. Again, if you look at the last year's budget, 23-24 budget request compared to this year's budget request, the changes up there in salaries and benefits,
So are we adding positions to that?
not from last year, no.
Okay. The full-time position is still staying the same?
Yeah, they're the same as last year.
Okay.
This is one of my questions on page 4.
Mhm.
Other contractual services, it went from 0 to 62,200. What's that entail?
So it was budgeted last year at 62,200. What's in that line item is our Tyler system, our finance system, and also the accountant. I didn't use the accountant much last year, so actually I didn't pay it at all out of this budget. She kind of disappeared on me, so this year we have a new accountant and hopefully they'll help us out more than last year.
So it's another accountant that comes in once in a while and gets paid for that.
Correct. They help me with year-end closing.
Certainly.
Bless you. So another reason that the 6220 is in there is that's what it was in previous years too. So
Correct.
we're just- Okay, just because last year it was 0 and then now it's 62 grand, so that's what my dad said.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
budgeted 62
Question on
last year.
page
but
4
we
is,
spent
okay,
And I have a question. We could, so I just so I'm clear, we're paying the auditor 31,000 a year for our annual audit.
Correct.
Then
Correct.
until everything that he does and reports to the state and
It
everything.
includes everything, and
Okay.
then that goes up every year, $500 to $1,000.
Thank you.
So my other question is, why are the attorney fees 0?
We pay the attorney fees out of the 2,900 account, the last page of general fund.
So why include them in this? Why do you put it in this spot? I mean, if you're paying it out of another account, why do we include it in this position or in this series?
Oh, the reason we do that is whenever we're over on the other account, if I have to move, we'll do it out of ours as opposed to any other department.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so 5 is Lynn with Parks and Rec. Lynn, do you want to go over that one?
So the two positions we're gonna hire, we did get the 80,000 from the state this year for the exercise equipment, which we should, that should be one of the easiest ones we can spend really quick. So we're gonna hire a fitness coordinator, one that will actually oversee the weight equipment. And they have to carry all the certifications and everything to be able to do that. So, I mean, that does take some quite a bit of training. Then the other one's gonna be a rep specialist, which is gonna be a position underneath McKenzie. So it'll be like McKenzie's assistant. But that one will be to where we can hopefully keep the gym open weekends and weekdays a little longer. Because right now, with us trying to get the pool ready, get the ground, taking care of the grounds, it's really just Mackenzie in there in the office collecting fees and all that. So, I mean, that's turned out to be kind of a trick too, because people are trying to sneak in without paying the $1 fee just to play. I mean, we had someone do that today, so we're gonna have to deal with that tomorrow. But we're seeing this.
Excuse me.
We're learning with this new gym. I mean, it's just, people want to use it every portion of the day. Now, every basketball team, I think in the cities found out we have this gym and their team is wanting to try to come, but we're trying to stay away from that because like the Boys and Girls Club, they tell their team they practice one day game or one day and then a game. Their coaches are trying to find other days. So they're not really following the rules of their leagues. And so we're not, they have to have insurance and all that. So that's one thing. So then, benefits, so they already talked about those. Conferences and travel, we just decided just not to do this year. The fuel, we just kept it about the same because we're pretty close to that every year. The price of chlorine went up quite a bit. I mean, it's almost $50 more a foot than it was last year, so hopefully we're good there. You guys see the maintenance contracts that went up double. The reason for that is the new alarm system in the new gym. So we're gonna have to pay double the fees on that. The chlorine didn't go up. Now, we had a problem with the heater last year, it caught on fire. So last summer the pool did not have a heater. So this year, trying to find a heater was also a problem. So what I did is I took apart the old heater and was able to save enough of that all I did is buy a new burner to put in for this summer. It will make it through this summer, but we are gonna need another pool heater. So with that, we had that fixed yesterday, but when we did that, the pool wants to continue backwashing itself. So from Saturday to Sunday, we lost 2 feet of water in that pool, just it being shot out the back of the rec center. So I had to shut the complete system down. So I need to get that diaphragm fixed, or 2 of those diaphragms fixed, otherwise I can't leave the pool running. So I did find, but in doing so, the guy that I found that can do that, I mean, hopefully it's coming today. If he is, I probably will just run it if I can, just to see what we're doing, but he's not here yet. But hopefully he can do it. But when he was here, he's also the pool expert, or the heater expert. That does almost all the commercial pools. So I'm working with him to see what we can get to upgrade that next year. I don't have a fee for that because I ran into this guy yesterday.
So how old is that heater?
12 years old.
So don't we need a new one? I mean,
We do, but trying to get it before we open is a nightmare. Usually need like 3 months. It
because
was 6 months.
I see in other contractual services, it was 0 last year, and now it's 6,000. They have to consider, you know.
Okay, that's on my basketball referees.
Oh,
So that's what that is.
okay.
But no, pool heater is gonna be closer to around 30,000.
Ben,
What?
who's replacing Ben?
Say it again?
Who are we getting to replace Ben?
Well, we have to advertise for it, so.
Oh, well, I didn't mean who, but I mean, we're getting a person to replace Ben.
Yeah, sure. I have some.
And then in addition to Ben, we're getting 2 others.
2 others, yes.
One we're gonna
Ben's
get this
gonna
summer,
retire in July,
one this summer, and then one maybe in January.
as soon as we get the equipment,
Okay, all right.
so.
So with the new gym, what do you see in terms of cost increase in terms of utilities, maintenance and so forth?
Okay, so I'm waiting to see the bills on that right now, because we haven't seen a bill for that new place yet, gas or electric. As far as maintenance, we bought like I'm gonna just call it a Zamboni. It's a cleaning machine that you see at Lowe's they use, they just drive it around the shop. So really it takes 20 minutes to do that whole entire building. Where if we were to mop it, it would take over 4 hours.
But we have janitorial services that we're paying for as well. Is that increased or is it the same?
Those have been close to the same.
Okay.
So, I mean, they are gonna go up some because there's a lot more toilets now, but it's not gonna be, we can make it work with what we did here with this.
Okay.
Counselor Murray, we upped his line item in utilities by $6,000. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's a swag if you don't know exactly what it is. So, yeah.
We'll find out within this month.
Yeah.
Oh, so.
But it seems like the new gym is taking off quite reasonably, right?
A little too much though. I mean.
Well, I mean, Counselor Burkett seems to spend his whole entire time down there, you know.
He is there quite often, so, but let me just bring something up with the budget, because I know the other day bathrooms in our old pool were brought up. Now in 2022, we did redo all those. We got brand new toilets, brand new sinks, brand new faucets, brand new showers, brand new hot water heater. It's just, there's no way those restrooms are gonna look like what you guys see with the new. They can't do that, because those floors, if you were a kid soaking wet, would just slip and fall like crazy. Because they're slick. In the bathhouse, it's kind of that paint thrown down with epoxy on it, so it is really slick, or not slick, it's rough. So kids, we haven't had kids fall in there. So I mean, because I mean, people are bringing that up, and there is a difference. The new ones look unbelievable compared to the old ones, but we have all the new appliances in the old ones right now. So it's just, it's not, and the way people act in there is so much different than the new one. So I mean, it's just people are outside in there and coming in, and so it's, but they are functioning very, very well. So I mean, I just want you guys to know, which I don't think we should concentrate on. So, but the new heater, you guys will hear that fee when we get closer to the final budget. It's just because I met with the guy yesterday. He is knowledgeable enough to probably throw me a figure right now, but I said, just please give me the paper. I want to know what I'm talking about, just not enough. So, but other than that, I think the only thing with that referee one, the one that you brought up, Mel, is if we do volleyball, we probably have to get volleyball referees, which that 6,000 really is just for basketball. But like if we do an adult volleyball league, what it's going to be is it's going to be my team will play Mike's team and we'll referee it ourselves. I mean, we'll call the calls. And, I mean, that's how we've always ran in the Rio Rancho, and it worked out really well.
So let me ask you one other thing. I know that the equestrian folks have asked for Top Form Marina to be maintained a little bit better than what it has been. Who's taking the share of the cost in that? Because there's probably some fuel cost or something that you're
So
sharing.
it's both of us. I mean, so what it is Mike waters the Growers Market parking lot every Friday. So when he's doing that, he goes and throws not even a full truckload of water on it. It's maybe not even a quarter of a truckload of water, and then we get out there.
Okay, so have we
Doing that
ever,
every Friday.
have we ever looked at gray water, using gray water for anything? I
We've
mean,
talked about it. Me and Mike have talked about it because Anthony did have a water tank. So what we did when we did the new gym, so I waste about 2,500 gallons of water a day just with the swimming pool, because when I backwash, if we could catch some of that and then pump it into our trucks if they need to go use it somewhere. So we have talked about when we did the piping around the new gym, we did put a T there to where we could put the tank in the Top Form Marina, but we're still working on that. I mean, we think we have a tank still, right? So, but then we gotta figure out, make it to where we're back and forth. So I'm gonna put it somewhere else. So we are looking at that
Okay.
some way. So I mean, that is.
well,
what is,
it
but-
seems like, you know, if we can use the gray water somehow without sending it down the roadway, you know, it might be better.
That's also why we're looking into the MBR.
Okay.
Council Waldman?
Yeah, two quick questions. In terms of fees, will you be charging in the old gym for use of the equipment?
So we're gonna set up like where you can either buy a year membership or month membership or a daily membership or daily admission. So those daily fees, currently right now, the new gym, we're just charging people $1 to go in there and play pickleball. Now we're doing that just because we want to see what the costs are going to be to operate this, but also to thank the citizens for allowing us to do what we just did. So once I see those bills, like today we were talking, and like to go swimming at the pool is $3 for kids and seniors and $4 for adults. Now, what's the difference between doing that and doing the pickleball? To me, they're in there about the same amount of time. We are staffing it. So, I mean, I think we could just go with those fees. We just have it to be where it's $3 for kids and seniors to use and then $4 for adults. But we will come up with a monthly membership. But like if I say $30 for the month and maybe like $100 for the year.
And do you have, are there teams that come in, play basketball? You know, outside? No, okay.
So it's open gym kind of with everybody, pickleball, and now pickleball, tons of people are coming in. There's days we've had 32 people show up. And there's something like last week when the weather was really nice, people are just going outside playing there for free.
Yeah.
On their outdoor basketball courts, so we put 3 courts there. I have 1 court in the old gym and I have the 4 in the new gym. So pickleball really is in this town. A little crazy, so, which is good, people are out doing stuff, but the open gym though is just really, you just come in and just play with whoever's there.
The other question is, and it's pretty obvious, but the 2023-24 budget at 2.6 million versus the 610 million, 610,000. I assume that's the cost of the new gym.
So that end in place,
That end,
the 2
new
new
employees,
employees.
yeah, right,
So
okay,
there's-
great, thank you.
And with this, though, I mean, this is something we may have come back to with, like employee wise, we're gonna start with 2 just to see. I mean, because my department right now is just 3 of us to do everything we need to do over there. And it doesn't give us a whole lot of time to really sit in the office at all. So I mean, this may be something, but we just wanted to start off small just to see how it goes.
Okay, moving on to senior center, page 6. I actually spoke with Mal from the senior center this week. He did not want to up the supply budget. I took it upon myself and upped his telephone and utilities because we're a little bit under this year, so we need to up those 2. Page 7 is library. Marion?
Okay, so it's not very different from last year's budget. Really, the only item that's changed is under supplies. Last year, we added some money for the library board because for their table at the growers market. And that's mostly library promotional materials, bags, and other kinds of swag. And then this year, I've also added $500 for the master gardeners, for them to maintain the gardens right around the library. Yes, they do occasionally add new plants.
So are you expecting more employees then? Because the difference with full-time positions is 146,900.
Well, we did have some staff changeover. It's the same number of employees, but the new person was not making as much as the older one was.
So how many full-time employees do you have?
There's 4 of us altogether.
Or, and then how many part-time?
None.
So
It's all
almost-
volunteers.
Now, we did give Sandra a pay raise this year, right?
Yeah, Sandra, a raise.
What? Oh, sorry. It's my naivete. Sorry. Stepped in it.
Do y'all have any questions on the library? Okay, so moving on to number 8, planning and zoning. This one's gonna be easy. The only changes we had were to the salary and benefits, so everything else in Lori's budget stayed the same.
It does bring up a question. It looks like, though, in terms of supplies and other things, we do pad that pretty heavily, but they're not expended. It looks like, I mean, I understand having buffer there, but should we look at that and then readjust it?
Lori just asked me about that. So the way we come up with those numbers is, first of all, this was done in March. All these numbers are as of March. We still have to go into June 30th. So all of those numbers are gonna change. If she has any POs open or anything though, those are counting with me towards expenses. So we could change it. We could lower her budget by the end of the year if she doesn't spend it, but I personally wouldn't lower it yet until after June 30th, maybe for the final budget.
Okay,
Is there an estimate of how much we bring in fees over the course of a year?
For Lori's department?
Yeah. In other words, if there,
I can add it up for you and send it to you. So
I'm just
basically,
curious, based on this, the budget figure for expenditures, what's the trade-off in terms of the fees we collect?
basically, if you go to page 1. And it starts at building permits.
Yeah.
So I could add up all those and send it to you if you like.
I'm just curious.
It goes all the way down to animal count fees. Almost all of them are from Lori's department.
And counselors, I would point out this year, although we're flat and even with last year's budget, we did get a large plotter a couple of years ago. Sandoval County found the financing for that. We also got 2 cars that are now out of their warranty period. So I expect certain expenditures just for those to go up somewhat. We now have a fully staffed planning and zoning department. And so there are 4 phones. There's just a few other little extra things. So perhaps some massaging or finagling, but I think we can live with exactly the same budget we had last year.
Lori, is there any equipment you need for, to put on our ICIP list, or are you pretty well set?
For this year, we're pretty well set.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are you anticipating any conferences? Because I noticed that you had, there's no budget in there. So any training or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that's actually gonna be well spent this coming fiscal. Like Sherry Rice and I, code enforcement officer, and I did not go to the spring zoning conference because we knew that our building official was gonna have some training and it didn't end up being as expensive as we had thought. But next year, I know we will probably go to both of the zoning conferences and there might be an extra one in there. Plus, the building official, his training is kind of sporadic. He has to do a kind of a ferocious amount of training and he doesn't really know upfront what it's going to cost. So we're trying to cover that eventuality. When his
Well, the
things come up.
conferences have $0 in them. I just wondered, is that something we need to add to?
Well, I think it comes out of, we take it out of training now, as I recall,
Yeah, out of travel,
Okay,
travel and training.
2 on top of that one.
okay.
And the reason being is some of our directors, well, most of our directors, when they go to these conferences, a lot of them try and get scholarships so that they don't have to pay the conference fees and just have to pay the travel fees.
Lori, I occasionally get some of these free training webinars or whatever. I can't recall any specific one for building inspectors or building related, but many of them, are related to construction things like plumbing, flood controls, things like that. Would those be worthwhile to get to Brian? Because they're free.
Yes, absolutely. He has certain things that are mandated for his certification, but those other ones would be, in fact, I've asked him to look into drainage and other things that are sort of construction adjacent.
Okay.
But yeah, anything and everything that's free.
I
He
don't
can
always know
probably
who to
get
send
some,
those to.
you can send them to me or you can send them
Yeah.
to both of us.
Okay.
But yeah, any training that's free is probably good training, and especially if it counts towards his certification, like mine count towards the floodplain manager usually.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, page 9 is police department. I believe Chief Capra is on Zoom.
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone.
Oh, it's the unicorn.
It's all rainbows and unicorns over here. So as you can see, we're relatively flat as well. The 0 to 2,500 for non-capital safety equipment it indicates new vest, but it's basically just odds and ends. We've been really fortunate to have legislative funding and law enforcement protection fund for the majority of our big equipment purchases, but this is for if we do need a vest here and there between those grants, or like we just had a new hire who we did not have a new safe holster for him for his sidearm, so we needed to purchase one with the belt. That's a few $100s here and there, so 0 definitely wasn't sufficient. And so and of course we've already overspent the 0 to 760 this year, so we just putting 2,500 in to just have a little bit. And under the uniform allowance, as everyone's aware, the cost of everything's going up. We're currently receiving a $20 per pay period uniform allowance for our sworn personnel, and we're asking to increase that to 25 per pay period. But other than that, there aren't a whole lot of changes.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. So Chief, how are we standing in terms of employees? I mean, I know we've always kind of been a little bit low. I'm just in terms of how many are we looking to hire?
We, Council Murray, Mayor Council, we are at authorized 17 sworn. Our 3 civilian positions are filled as they normally are, the 2 animal services officers and the police records clerk. For the sworn positions, we are sitting at 15 out of 17 right now, which it really, in the grand scheme of things, we're doing pretty well relative to other law enforcement agencies, especially law enforcement agencies in New Mexico. So, you know, we're constantly trying to get some more folks on, but when we are at full staff at 17, we do really well with the coverage. I mean, we get by regardless, we make it work. But so the short answer is we're 2 positions down out of our 17 right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Page 10 is also Chief Manager Capra's animal control.
And yeah, that's essentially flat as well. Hopefully the bulk. And of course, we were dealing primarily with special funds when it came to the new building and so forth. So hopefully we're over that hump and we can just get down to business, and we will see what kind of additional costs may be incurred by operating that new facility here. And this will be kind of a test run this year, and then we'll see what kind of adjustments we need to make as we go along, which is what Randa does best.
Mayor,
Oh, yes, Bill.
I do have a question. So Dennis Friends put up $242,000 for the building last year. And wondering, other than salaries and vehicles, how much does the village actually spend for animal services
Other than salaries and vehicles.
and benefits? So in other words, vet services, food, all the other things all come from Dennis Friends. Is that correct?
We've been fortunate to, yes, have those donations for the last several years. When we applied for the grant this past fiscal year, we were denied because of the unexpected expenses that they contributed toward the building. So I understand that we're eligible to reapply, or we will be pretty soon. And so we're going to try and get some more. But as far as village expenditures for vet care, food supplies and so forth, there haven't been any for the last few years because of the Dennis Friends. So hopefully we could keep it that way. But if we have to budget for that at a general fund, then, you know, we'll pursue that.
I would suggest perhaps, Mayor, we could look at maybe setting up maybe a $25,000 recurring fund. If it's not used, it can roll over to the next year. But I'm concerned that, as the chief indicated, Dennis Friends turned them down last year. So if we can put some money into that account and if it's not used, I don't know if that's the right term or not, a recurring fund that you could roll over.
We can make a special fund for that.
Yeah, definitely no objection to that, Councilor Waldman. If we have the fund in there and we could set that aside, if we don't use it, great. And, you know, as they say, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Right, exactly. I don't want to be in a position, however, where it's a fund that if it's not used, it goes back to the general fund. I think it should stay for animal services. Yet if it's not used, that's great. But I also don't want to be in a position where we were a couple of years ago, where we ran out of money, we couldn't buy food, and then you had to go on Facebook to try to get, food for the animals. So if we can have that fund set up on a recurring basis.
And just keep it topped off at around 25 grand.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
The way we would do that, council, is we would have to move cash over into a special fund. That way it stays in there. So page 11 is Chief Martinez Fire Department.
Thank you, council. The budget is, you can see, we're requesting for 2 additional full-time employees. I think you've heard me last couple of years trying to increase my staffing. Our goal is to have 4 per shift on a 48-hour, and I have 2 shifts that only have 3 due to increase of calls and demands for services. Other than that, the bottom section of my budget pretty much stays the same, you know, Life Pack, we do try to do our best, trying to take some of our operating costs out of our fire fund. As you know, I'm trying to build another substation. When I get that built and it gets approved, those costs that we get annually from the fire marshal's office can be used for employees, but they do help me offset some of the costs in my general budget. So my general budget is mostly just employees. This year we did add a special project. And so we're asking for the 100,000 plus the 5,000, which are just general operating costs for the Bosque Advisory Commission, which is their budget is under mine. We use the $5,000 for maintenance, signs, just different things for Bosque. Chainsaw fuel, chainsaw chains. The clerk has put up some pictures here and I can go into, so I am, as you know, I try to identify, you know, risks associated to the village. And so we have a couple of things that I've been working on. This right here is a picture of the Boy Scout bridge. It's kind of hard. Sorry, I sent it like in a small format, but we are trying to, I have located a bridge, a engineered bridge at the landfill during my rotation of dropping off waste for the village. And we have pictures of that. So this was, I happened to come across this at the Sandoval County landfill. It's an engineered bridge, 40-foot span, still in great shape, rustic looking, and it is now property of the village. We just have to kind of go pick it up and relocate it to the village. The mayor and Ron and the Bosque Advisory Commission, they're in favor of replacing the Boy Scout Bridge, which is an asset of the village. It's licensed to the village of Corrales. It has had minimal repair. There's some pictures. I try to inspect it every year. I'm not a certified bridge inspector, but it's starting to get some wear and tear. The wood planks are coming up. It's starting to kind of warp. So this is one thing that we'd like to replace to make it safer. But during this is we want to realign the Boy Scout Bridge to be aligned with the Army Corps of Engineer ramps. Where the ramps that take you from the upper levee road to the lower levee road. Because over the years, when horses and pedestrians cross the Boy Scout Bridge, they go up the side of the levee. So we've had to invest a lot of hours and Youth Conservation Corps to try and reinforce that, because every year or every couple of years, Army Corps of Engineers comes in. They want to decertify that section because of the path getting eroded on the levee. So we want to replace the bridge. We have the asset. We just have to try to figure out mobilization of the bridge. I'm working with the local Boy Scout groups to see if they have Eagle Scout projects that would help us help take lead, come and make the official presentation to you, the governing body, maybe get donations and a crane. So that's one project. The other project is Applewood. There's been a lot of discussion, the fires we had last year. It would have been nice to have an emergency access. And again, to clarify, emergency access from Applewood over the Loma Larga main canal. It wouldn't be open to public, it'd have a gate. This is a picture of the profile from Loma Larga looking towards Applewood. It lines up fairly well with Pueblo Los Cerros. It would give us access to their hydrant system for water in the event of a fire, help get public safety in or help get citizens out. So this is a project that we'd like to move forward, working with Mike and Public Works, MRGCD, just talking to them. They're willing to help us with engineering plans, so we don't have to pay for an engineer. We'll just use something that's already in their books. They are certified engineers. So I think this would be a great project. And with that, we would go ahead and make improvements also for, equestrian trails, pedestrian. And the one photograph is, I again apologize, it's hard to see, but we'd also like to realign. There's a bridge there just south of Applewood that is not permitted. It's illegal. And we want to kind of try to realign it because that house in the corner has 2 driveways, which is not good when you call 911. There we go. So you could see Applewood, and then to the right there's a bridge. That bridge is okay for a smaller type vehicle, but if they called us on 911 or another agency, the bridge has no load bearing. Fire truck would fall or could fall right through. So we want to kind of clean that up, make it a little bit safer. So with that, if you have any questions, instead of stand, I'll sit.
Counselor Knight?
So is that bridge that's already there, is that a private property bridge that the people that own that house could get bridge? Because I noticed they just put a sign up about, private bridge, you can go across this. So.
Yes, it is a private property bridge. In my understanding, they did not go through the permitting process through MRDCD. Did not.
Oh, okay.
And we just found that out in my conversations when we were pursuing the possibilities of putting another culvert there to make an alignment of Applewood.
Yeah. So I've noticed that your maintenance fee, you only have $1,000 allocated. So does your maintenance come out of other accounts to take care of the trucks and everything?
The which number? I'm sorry.
It's maintenance vehicle, furniture, equipment. I think it's 44,040, but you only have $1,000 budget. I just wonder, is that those vehicle fees, are they maintained out of some other account?
Yes, we try to offset that from the fire funds.
Okay.
Okay, page 12, Counselor Jimena, I don't know if you're aware, I think. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's Michael's.
Okay, so starting at the top with our raises for our certifications, so we're giving them a 4% raise when they get a new certification. And what we have is water and wastewater. So as of now, we have Mike 2, water and wastewater. Steve has a wastewater 1, working on his water 1. Marcus has a water 2 and he's working on his wastewater 2 because he already has a water 1. Jared, we're just starting him out, so he'll be getting his first certifications this year. And we're short 1 employee, and we've been short for quite a while now. But we're gonna take over the cleaning for the village, so we're gonna get another employee. So it'll help take care of that too, to clean the buildings here. Going down, the only real changes I have here is the maintenance for the vehicles. For our equipment and our vehicles, our maintenance costs are going up just because of parts, oils, hydraulic oils, everything's just doubled almost in prices. Our next line here, right under that, I don't know if you have do they have the write-up or expense what it is?
No, we don't.
Okay, so other contractual services, that's actually the digital signs.
Ah, okay.
Okay, and I have Sunland Paving is working on getting us a quote for those. And as you can see, that hasn't been used yet. So going down to other supplies, that is actually the tree budget that we had for the last couple of years. And that's to deal with hazard trees. And that's not just the public works, that's also for fire and for parks and rec. So we kind of share that. If we have any tree problems, we'll get them in there. Someone in to take care of them. Going down to capital roads. You're gonna see a $40,000. That's for the striping. I also have Sunland working on a quote for that. And the quote I'm working on with them is for the whole village, village-wide. The only road we're gonna leave off would be Loma Larga because I have that on schedule to be fog sealed, and then what they'll do is they'll restripe that. And that's on a grant that we already have. The match for the grants right now on my grant requests, they total $968,900. So the match, 25% match of that would be $242,000. Those grants won't be awarded until June. So that I don't have I'm not sure what we're gonna do there, but this way we'll have that in hand. And we can just go ahead and process that.
Michael, are those grants new? Are they grants, I know we got together with council or Representative Gates. Are those any from? were these
No, that's-
invested Or these are different ones?
That's the local government road fund and the MAP grant.
So Michael, this is Raina, but the capital roadways, you have two entries. They both have the same account number. Yeah, we have two different values there. Is that correct?
It's correct right now. It'll change in the final.
Okay,
Some of that money will move to a different line item,
okay.
but I wanted to leave it so that you see where the striping is and you see where the grant money is.
So how many roads can you stripe with that budget of 40K? Is that, I think you had indicated that it was gonna cost a lot more than that.
Okay, it'll be approximately 240,000 to do all the roads except for Loma Larga.
Okay. But how many roads could you do with 40K? I mean, it
It would depend on the road, because some of them we're gonna have to eradicate the center line. And that's more expensive than striking.
okay.
So if it takes a double stripe and then two shoulder stripes, it's hard to say.
Do we
I
have
could-
roads that are prioritized to go yet?
I want La Entrada just to appease everybody, but I need to get that paved.
Yeah.
And the kind of the holdup on that, I don't know if you realize this, when they did the pulverizing and paving a few years back, they went all the way right to Old Church Road. So what happened is they raised the level of the road 3 inches. So now when it rains, the resident that lives on the southwest corner, he gets flooded.
Wonderful.
Yes, I don't want to tear out the whole road, so we're trying to find a solution to where when it rains, it doesn't flood them anymore. So we're actually gonna have to drop back about 50 feet and remove some of that newer road.
Okay.
But that's kind of why that's not just happening right away.
Yeah. But if you, I mean, if you're gonna repave it, the striping should be included in that, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's fine.
Yes, Bill.
Michael, you may have mentioned this earlier, but I don't see anything in here about the signage that Councilor Murray has been asking about in terms of the speed on Loma Larga, Corrales Road, flashing, not.
Well, those are the digital signs here.
It's under other contractual services, 30,000.
That's the 30,000.
Contractual services, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any update on any of the roads you're working on?
No, we're supposed to be starting the Priestley Corval wastewater though this month. And then July we'll be working on sagebrush, I hope.
July, August?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And I'm also working with another contractor, just so you know, so we can get some of these things done.
Okay, page 13, as I was saying, this one is general services. So, Counselor Miata, this is the one that basically we use for something that impacts the whole village and not just one particular department. So like attorney fees, computer stuff, something that everybody uses. So that's what this budget is. You guys have any questions on that one?
So I guess I'm gonna take it that the increase, where did I see that at? Professional services, that includes the 60K for the on-call architect, is that correct?
Okay, so that one includes some of our engineering, WH Pacific, appraisers, translation, Albuquerque asphalt, and the new architect.
Okay. Mayor, how soon, if we approve the budget in June, do we put out the RFP in July or something like that?
Probably something like that.
Okay. I figured.
Once the budget, but it's middle of July when DFA finally will approve us, right? It'll be like the middle of July before we have the final approval to be able to function under the new budget, right?
Correct. So what we do is we'll work off of this preliminary budget. July 31st is my final budget that's due, so it'll be a few weeks after that, but in the meantime, we'll work off of this.
We would actually rather, if there's no big objection, go with people who have state contracts, because then we can tell them what we want as
Yep.
opposed to going out for an
I
RFP.
know, Mayor, but here's the problem I have with state contracts. They should probably be used for minor projects.
Oh, that's really not a good,
Well, I know,
approach.
but you know,
that's really not a
if we're
good
gonna be
approach at
good
all.
stewards of the money for our budget, I think we need to demonstrate that to our residents that, you know, we can't just go with state contracts all the time. Anything over $100,000, it probably ought to go out for an RFP.
I
mean,
disagree.
Well, I know we'll probably disagree to. or
Well, it's not that it's a state contract. It's not like somebody who's a state employee. It's somebody who's already gone through the bidding
Yeah, I know, but
process.
I really am, I'm uncomfortable with that. I'd
Well, that's
rather
really
like
too
to
bad.
see-
What do you do when you go see the doctor?
Well, I don't have much choice. That's, when I go see a doctor, I don't have a choice.
I mean, if he's just a plain old doctor from a plain old medical school, what are you going to do then?
Well, but it's not the point.
It is the point. You're stereotyping somebody because of an unproven issue with regard to their education, skills and abilities. I think that's wrong.
I also
I've-
think,
I've been-
I also
I'm
think it's
sorry.
wrong just
I'll stop.
to rely on state contracts all the time. I think we need to submit RFPs. I see RFPs in the paper all the time from the Pueblos, from the other facilities in other towns around here. I think we ought to be doing the same.
Okay, any other comments? Yes,
I
sir.
actually have a couple pretty basic questions that are on page 1, if I could.
Page 1.
Well, it's just that what is the GRT municipal share included in revenue, and how's that differ from the gross receipts municipal distribution? One's 3.2 million, the other's 2.4 million.
I can't answer that. So I have asked TRD what differences are. You'll also see, Counselor Woolman, some of like the GRT, HRT, they're combining them. They're trying to combine them all slowly but surely. So I couldn't answer that question right now.
I have one other question. It's kind of related. What are the GRT administrative fees for $125,000?
So basically the amount of revenue that we get from GRT, we pay tax and rev and administrative fee. It comes out right away automatically, so I don't give them a physical check, but they deduct that. So you will see those fees in my stuff, but I have to do a journal entry to put it in there. Because we don't pay it separately.
So the business is collected, sorry,
Those administrative fees are going away as of 2026.
We're coming to court.
okay, so but for now, thank you, but for now, the businesses collect the GRT. They turn it over to the state. The state then reimburses the communities,
Correct,
but they charge an administrative fee to give the money to us?
correct.
Yes.
Percentage? So it could vary every year.
And they're relatively low. Most of the time it's like, I don't know, $700-800 a month that we're doing, depending on which GRT it is.
I think the municipal league estimated we would see $30,000 per year come back to us when those fees go away. So it's not a lot, but it is a nice one.
It's pizza.
Thank you.
Counselor Knight, you want to say something? Counselor Knight?
So are we done with going through this particular? Okay, so I have a question on page 17.
Okay.
Fire protection supplies went from $100,000 to $19,000.
So Chief Martinez will be able to answer that. This is one of his funds. He gets money yearly on this one. And so he knows what he's spending on.
Mayor, Council, I didn't hear the question. If you can maybe talk on the mic a little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I need to find it. On page 17, I had fire protection. Supplies were $100,000 and it went down to, last year it was 19,000 and this coming year it's gonna be 100,000. And I was wondering why there was such a big difference.
Is it 207?
On page 17.
2009.
So fire protection fund, you budgeted $100,000 last fiscal year and you budgeted another 100,000 this fiscal year, but you only spent 19,000
I
in the
think
last
that's
fiscal.
page 18.
That's year to date.
18 on ours.
That's year to date. The 19,000 is year to date.
It's year to date, but it's also because this money is restricted. It's just where Rain and I put it until you have a special project. We don't have to go to council for changes within line items. We just have to move them.
That's the projected, or not projected, that's just a placeholder.
It's a placeholder.
Okay.
Because you can move within a department, like 209, which is his protected fund, only can be used by certain things under the law. You can move from supply to capital if he wants, just by turning a sheet in that we signed to Raina. So it was a great placeholder to put it there. And this is also, she did this in March. I'd say we're probably at 30,000 in supplies right now. It just depends on what you count as supply and what we need.
And basically what I budget is the amount that is left. So whatever is left is what's budgeted. So as Chief Martinez is spending, that money is gonna go down. But I budget the whole amount that he has left.
I just, again, saw differences and I just wanted to ask. So I just saw differences and it seemed like a big difference. That's why I wanted to ask. I also have a question on page 24. What is YCC Bosque?
So I'm trying to scan online here, but YCC Bosque is the Grant Youth Conservation Corps. So this year we were awarded a YCC for now in the spring, summer, which we're going to be training as wildland firefighters, first aid. And then we have Bosque YCC, which is going to be starting sometime in the fall. And we're going to utilize those Youth Conservation Corps to help us maintain some of our obligated, things that we need to do in the Bosque, that when we had MOUs after the Army Corps of Engineer vacated, their project work and different things, there's a lot of maintenance in the Bosque. So they're going to help us with that. Yep.
Right, I just didn't know what that meant, so I just wanted to.
Yeah,
ask.
Youth Conservation Corps. Yep.
Okay, and then on page 25, about the American Rescue Plan, are those all grants and funds and things like that?
That is the, what was it all together?
2.1 million.
1 million that we got from American Rescue a couple years ago.
And are we using that? Is that?
So as of March, we had 773,000 left. So
what
that's
does that
what's
usually go
budgeted.
towards?
It is going down though. Tanya could answer that better than I can.
So that, we did the wastewater truck. We also got the backhoe. We've got the airboat, air packs. So the American Rescue Fund has a limited number of things you can do for it. Right now, we're looking at 1 or 2 generators, Chief. There's limited things that could be done with that. It's actually well below that now. Raina and I have been really careful to not spend over 750,000 in one fiscal year because we just don't want to do a single audit. And that's what the requirement for feds is. And that would increase your audit by probably 10 or 12,000. So everything does have to be obligated by this year, December 31st. So it'll be gone. We don't have to spend it till 2026, but it has to be obligated. So I think we're right at now closer to 490 because when we did this budget, Mike's backhoe, is it a backhoe, Mike? Hadn't been paid yet. And then chief stuff, some water stuff. So we're very careful with those because they are very specific what you can and can't use it for. I think some wastewater engineering for WH Pacific also came out of there,
Okay.
which is allowable.
And you have a list, I'm sorry.
I have one more question on page 36. What is LGRF?
Local Government Road Fund.
Okay. Again, I was just reading through this, so I didn't know what some of these initials meant, so.
Yeah, it's a DOT grant.
So, Tony, do you have a list of, a wish list between now and the end of the year that you want to spend that money on? We could probably come up with something.
I think each department kind of has a wish list. We were very good about asking each department. We sent out emails on what they needed. Our big one right now, if I'm not wrong, Mayor Ron, Chief, is trying to get some generators in. Because there's one building in this village that is, got a generator and that can run everything. That's the fire station. I don't know if we had any other, there's little things, but it will get encumbered.
So generators were on the far down on the list, but on the ICIP wish list. So
Well, so we need, if I had my wish as emergency management, we'd have a generator for every building to be fully functional, and that's gonna be millions, depending on if you want propane, diesel, natural gas, or if you want one you can change out from natural gas to propane, because that's a possibility. Chief's the generator person. So Mayor asked me that, and I think they should stay, because Chief, your generators are gonna run right under 60,000, which was nice, but install was gonna be right at 45,000. And that isn't including something for this complex, which would have to be bigger or would have to have multiple.
So basically, it's mostly emergency cleaning and wastewater.
Yeah, we did get, Lynn got his Zamboni cleaner out of that.
can we get a pool heater out of that?
I
Would a
don't
pool
think
heater
so.
be a stretch?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I could look. It's really public safe, those kind of things, but I mean, we have played around and tried to utilize it for the best benefit of everyone in the village.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had one last question. Are we gonna get to see everybody's ICIP list?
It'll be on the agenda next Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, excuse me.
On that point, I believe I sent you on the ICIP. I have the stoppage for my part. To me, there's two ICIPs. One I get from the state and one we use for our own monies. So I would rate them different. If I was getting some monies from the state, then this one means more. Does that make sense? And then there's our own monies that we have. Well, then that one's really at the bottom because, or it may move around. But the one that went out, it was just like ICIP period. So like, who's ICIP money?
The idea is that it would be the state money, the capital outlay money for this ICIP list, because anything I apply for capital outlay, it pulls from the ICIP. And it cuts down on the amount of paperwork I have to do when we apply for capital outlay.
Well,
So-
and good, because that's changed a little bit since when I was up there, but the end was we wanted to have that list. But if not, I was afraid that I put something on that list and it made it to the top. But on the other hand, we didn't get any of that money from Santa Fe, so therefore it landed up being on our back. So it's a little bit.
And I think
apprehensive.
Counselor Murray had sent me an email kind of along those lines. And that might be something that you might want to discuss at next Tuesday night's meeting when you have the ranked ICIP list. Maybe creating some sort of secondary list that would be internal that I could keep separate from
So
the
does
ICIP.
that make sense, Mr. Mayor? We're talking about two different lists, depending on whose money we're using.
Well, as long as, I mean, if we have grants that are for specific things. Is that what you're talking about?
Not necessarily, the money's coming from Santa Fe, I'll build a wall. But if we're gonna be using our own monies, I wouldn't build that wall. That'd be on the bottom of the list. I'm
Well,
just using that
we're
as an
not,
example.
actually, we'd rather not use our own monies. We'd rather get grants.
But so that's exactly where I was going with the question. We'd rather not use our own monies at all.
We might have to use our own money for a match.
And I think you hit it right on the button. There's where, I became a little bit apprehensive about, well, this is what I'd like to put as at number one, but I don't know if the match is gonna offset the monies that we're gonna be getting for free. Based, stay around, that's. But on the other hand, I wouldn't want to put that so high up in the ICIP list that if it wasn't gonna be coming from the state, then I wouldn't be that high on the list.
Okay. Did you want to say something?
I did. I personally, as the grant writer, would like anything you guys think you want to spend capital money on, put on an ICIP list for the state.
Don't
Whether or
they
not-
ask us that question?
Well, it's almost, especially if it's a state grant, they want to know if it's been on your ICIP list, how long, why you haven't moved forward on it. And even if it's on the bottom, it's on there. So I wrote a grant for to the Tourism Bureau. And I finagled that you had a whole bunch of money sitting on ICIP for building improvements. And I said, yes, it's in there, because it really wasn't, but it's something we need. And you guys have talked about bathrooms, public bathrooms. So my personal as a grant writer would be, if you want a grant for it, it needs to be on that list, or we add it to our hazard mitigation plan, or which we can do just as a council, just by updating it. Because that's one of the first questions. And the feds also ask this, is this on any list anywhere? And have you tried for money?
So,
Thank you. Talk about that, maybe
sure.
how we can rank that was accordingly.
Yeah. So Tanya, let me ask you this. If we're working on the Safe Streets grant, would that come under the hazard mitigation, or would we put that on the ICIP?
That's a really good question, Counselor Murray. ICIP, yes. I think it could easily come under hazard mitigation also, because and we need to get together on that one, because one of the things we want to talk about is our elderly population. Sorry, everybody, but that I use that a lot. 33.6% of our population is elderly. We need to keep them moving. So it might need to be on both. Streets are a little different, at least the grants I've looked at for streets, but this is my first foray into a street grant.
Right. Now, I'm just curious about, since you were talking about the ICIP, about having it on there, is that something we need to think about?
I have not seen that, but because this is federal dollars, what I have really seen on that one, Counselor Murray, is they want to know our hazard ratio of our people. They want to know our income, but we can offset that income based on, we meet some of the criteria, and the older you are, the more likely you're to be impacted either by exercise emergencies, all of those things. So I don't know if that one is, but I'll try to have an answer for you before, Melanie, before next council meeting. Go ahead. Sorry, Chief, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Since we're talking about lists, years ago, I originally added, and I actually don't recall if it's still on there, underground utilities on the ICIP, because we had to capture that somewhere, because we didn't have a village infrastructure list or needs assessment list. We try to utilize our hazard mitigation. I'm currently in the process of redoing the wildland fire protection grant, which we identify hazards and infrastructure at risk, like our water tanks, pump houses, fire stations, schools, everything like that. So I'm happy we're having this discussion, because when we seek grants or, emergency management, we start talking about these things, organizations or elected officials, that, represent the federal government and the state, they want to see if we've identified our risks and needs assessment and our vulnerability when it comes to some of our roads and bridges and culverts and access, like Applewood, trying to create emergency access. So yes, I think wherever we can add it, and that we've had a discussion, and our mayor and Ron and council, we've all decided that, yes, these are things that we need to identify, whether we're going to seek funds, but we've identified that they're something of attention, right? So we can hopefully, I know Tanya, and we're always looking for federal dollars to help us with some of our infrastructure needs, but there's other things that hurt us because, of our medial income and stuff, but we're always trying.
Well, it also seems to me that with the expansion of the school and safe routes to school, I think we need to think about that as well. Either we put it on the list or something, because we're looking at now probably going from 250 to 500 students in about 3 or 4 years. Whenever they get the school in place, we're going to have a hell of a lot more traffic. So it seems to me that maybe we should identify some of those things too, as a safe routes to school, and get that on an ICIP or somewhere, or maintenance, or a hazardous mitigation, or whatever how you want to do it.
And I just had this discussion recently because, I go and run with them on Fridays, or they stopped that, they run on Wednesdays now, but there's some teachers that would like to bring that safe routes to school back. Talking about it, getting, kids and drop points and walking with the kids to school. So I don't know what happened. It kind of went away. I don't know if it was funded through the school or what the funding source was, but I know that they want to have that discussion again.
Well, I mean, the campus is obviously going to change dramatically. I mean, the focus is going to be back towards Andrews Lane. But I mean, getting the kids to school and getting them across Corrales Road, that's going to be a big hassle. And I think we just need to think about that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Part of the issue with the Safe Routes to School had to do with the way to get there, the pathway. The MRGC does not want you to call anything, they don't want you on the MRGC ditches, and you certainly don't call it a path. If we had some way to build a path from Corrales Road on our property to as far west as maybe Old Church Road, for example, you could have drop-off points down there. It's a little more centralized, and then they could walk down our path, the village's path. We don't have to ask anybody's permission, and they could get to school, and that would limit.
We're working on the interior drain. That seems like that would be a no-brainer if we're going to use that.
Well, except that it's not my impression they want to use that for any vehicles. So you can't have you'd have to have a drop-off point somewhere at either end of that to do that. Let me ask a real quick question of Tanya, because I remember discussing this with Phil Gastar many years ago about underground cables. And we were given a price tag, and I think carried it on our ICIP for some time. Is it still there? Because the price tag is for the mile in the commercial core is like $10 million.
I think it's a deactivated project. So if I go into the ICIP, I might be able to reactivate it and add it back onto the list relatively easily. But I'll have to go in and look.
Mayor, council, one of the things I was working on was a hazard mitigation grant. They're really hard right now. At one point for overhead power lines.
Yes.
But one of the things we fall into in New Mexico is it's not our utility and it's a federal grant. So they can give to private enterprise, but it's a federal grant, but it flows through the state. So where we ran into problems on that was we're giving it to a for-profit company. We're improving them and we have the anti-donation clause. So that's where we ran into it. But it's still nice to have it on there that we're willing to do that, but we own wastewater. So if you wanted me to do something with wastewater, we own it. Mike's the operator, which is nice. But that anti-donation clause that they keep saying they're going to change because it is for the public good. It really is for the public good because chief worries every time it's windy about those catching fire. And if you drive down, you just watch all the trees in it.
Well, it seems like that'd be something for our legislators to get our person involved in, see if we can get that law changed.
Oh, excuse me, Councilor Mira.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for allowing this conversation to go on because I think it helps in the future development. On that last part, real quickly, I just memories go back. I think that one was rough. Trying putting that cable or where I believe over the state lines on Native American lands. That really became a big one. Native Americans, you're not doing anything for us. We couldn't put it on their particular land because that's a whole nother nation. So don't forget that one. And we didn't forget it. We did it, but we had all the way around it. Mr. Mayor, where I wanted to go with that last was a brief conversation that I had with some of my friends from APS. On that one was, and the bridges we were just talking about, is where there's gonna numbers of kids coming in, and they're gonna have a fire problem. They needed to evacuate the school, whether it's fire or whether it's a lockdown situation or whatever it might be. They gotta move them out. They're gonna have to use that. They're gonna have to use that the ditches to move them because they can't bring them all the way up to Corrales. So they're gonna have to use that. So there, I said, well, you guys want to build a bridge on that one because that would be their opportunity to do that. They were a little taken back at the time, so we just thought we could utilize it. But there's no bridge to get you across to the other side. So it's those kind of things about picking up that bridge. I don't know how you found that a bridge, but you found it. But I know that those really they come in handy what they have available to them. But you got to ask them for that to do that. Otherwise, they're going to assume we're going to do it.
Yes, sir.
So are you talking a bridge over the interior drain?
Just for if there was a lockdown or something that had to happen, they have to get the kids off the campus immediately.
Yeah. my understanding as I'm looking into putting in the fire hydrants through there. We actually might be going right across from the school to the homes, which we're gonna have to fill it in. We'll already have like a walkway. So, again, I think it's my understanding, we have permission, I'll have to clarify, but we could fill in sections of that interior drain for the purpose of getting the water line or wastewater across because it's been vacated. It's not really draining anymore. So I think there's a solution to their bridge problem once we get our water lines through. Absolutely.
Once you get to that point, that's
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Well, the issue with filling in the interior drain was raised with the committee that is doing that, and they were not terribly excited about that. So we'll have to do a little bit of PR or whatever to try to explain that this is so we can provide water and sewer services to people on the other side of the drain.
Absolutely, Mayor. In my conversations with them, there was some comments about trying to make my pipes meander around things. And pipes don't bend like that. So we definitely have to, when they have another meeting, I can, bring.
I actually told them we were contemplating filling in the bottom of putting a fenestrated pipe in there and filling in the bottom so that it would be, at least if it collected water at some point in the future, it would be drained out, much like a French drain or something like that. And I got a little bit of pushback from that because they want to keep a big hole there.
And I know in one area, we have a culvert that's, rotting away. It's rusted out. And so Mike and I we've been in the field and looked at ideas, and instead of replacing the culvert, we could realign the road and fill in and vacate that rusty old culvert before someone,
Before somebody goes in?
Yeah. So these are things that I hope the committee would be, open to hear from Mike and I and public law enforcement that, we're trying to make it safer.
Yeah. Well, I think we can certainly present evidence and present an argument, and then we can work with Jason, because Jason pretty much said, unless it's written down, unless it says we can't do it, we can't. You have a question?
Yeah, this is kind of getting back into the budget side of things because I had a few questions outside what Counselor Knight was working on. On the lodgers tax fund on number 214, looks like we budgeted for 15,000, but yet that account is growing.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile the disparity between those amounts? I mean,
we spend the money.
Well, I know, but if it's 20-some thousand, don't we have to carry that on the books as 20-some thousand or in the budget somewhere?
I think that's what Raina's year-end budget adjustments are for things like that, where more revenue has come in than what we anticipated.
Okay.
And so is that correct, Raina? Your year-end budget adjustments, that's where you make those corrections for things where it comes in more?
Okay, and also on Fund 215, we budgeted 55,000 for contractual services. Is that for Main Street? Okay.
That's what we pay them every year now.
Okay. And then on safe routes for schools, I think it's account 234. Let me get over, whoops. Yeah, maybe it was there was a safe routes for school account somewhere, and I was just curious about where that money was going to be spent. Let's see. Hang on, I may have wrote down the wrong number here. I'm trying to. Shoot. Okay, I thought it was in there, but anyway, I can send you an email and you can probably just send me a response back onto it if you want. I'll find it again, but it seemed like we had budgeted a certain amount of money for safe routes and
Trails and safe routes.
I'm sorry,
Trails and safe routes.
maybe that was it.
On next page 28.
You.
Legislative money.
Okay.
So,
What we budgeted this year is just what's left over.
And what are we using that for? Just for the Bosque funds or Bosque or?
No, that's the economic development one. I'll have to look and I'll
Yeah, you can just email us all and just. I was just curious about where it was going.
yeah, but that is legislative.
Okay. And they want that to be used in a certain way, is that, or are we free to use it any way we want?
No, all of them are. So, usually they'll have, like, the trail,
That one, it's how I write it when I submit it for capital outlay. So whatever the legislative wording is, so we usually do to design, construct, build, equip, we throw in as many words as possible to cover the largest
Could
number
that
of.
be used on the upper metal arc?
So usually it's a specific
Okay.
place. So unless it specifically says upper metal arc, then no, we couldn't use it for
Okay.
that.
All right, thank you.
We done?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Captain Muir.
Just a real quick congratulatory kind of situation for the entire village. Coming from Mount Edward for many years, come here, found out that there was a whole lot of people that were volunteering. They were on this committee, they were on that committee. We started out, I'm going back where we started on conversations, and how many staff that you actually had, and actually not too bad considering. Then you add in the YCC, there was an extra 20 people right in there and so forth and so on. But don't know if you've ever taken the time, this is probably a whole lot of time to do it. But put these people that are donating, no matter which committee that they're on, we've got a bunch of committees, they're really worth a whole lot of staff hours and staff time if we have people doing it. Now, they just tend to, Bernal County, they just tend to hire somebody to do that and hire somebody to do that. We're very lucky to have those individuals that come and donate that kind of thing to us, and otherwise we'd be hiring people to do the kind of work that they do. Congrats goes out to them, but that all happens because you guys are always taking care of these situations. And I just thought I'd bring that part up. So congratulations to you on
No,
that.
that's absolutely accurate. I mean, volunteers run this village. We didn't have volunteers, there are a lot of things we couldn't do. And to respond, we wouldn't hire people. We just, things that wouldn't get done. We don't have the funds. We can't cover it all.
And then the last quick question, those YCC, they're young kids, they work how many hours? What's their total, 20? Is that the most they can work?
I don't know what you specified in the grant, Tanya. It's, she put in the specifics, I think it's 40 hours.
They can work up to 40 hours a week, no
They
overtime.
can, that's a full
Yes,
time.
you have to be, for the full state grant, you have to be between 14 and 25. You have to be unemployed at the time of hire to do it. We wrote this one for 18 to, but I'm probably going to I'm looking at maybe hiring 1 or 2 17-year-olds just because they may turn 18 in October. We can hire all new. YCC does like you to hire the same people if you can, because after they get so many quarters in, they can either get $1,200 from the state to go towards college. They can turn in receipts for books, tuition, or they can ask for a one-time $500 stipend payout in cash after they get their quarters in. And Chief Martinez has ran a wonderful YCC program. We have people who are Albuquerque firefighters, Corrales firefighters, doctors, pharmacists in the Navy. We've had really good success with, I'd say we probably ran 75 kids through YCC over the years, just in the fire department. And really, really good. It's a great program, a lot of work, and Raina and Cindy help out immensely.
We're
Thank
actually,
you, Mr. Grant.
Do you want to tell them?
so yeah, when we hire the YCC for this spring, summer, we hope to bring them back for the fall to help us do work in the Bosque. So if we could train them now in the spring and summer to be wildland firefighters, then in the fall, they can help take that skill set and help us clean up the bosque and maintain it. So it's kind of a goes hand in hand for prevention, because we're always trying to prevent, but also the response side. The other thing too is Ronnie and I have talked about this. We just haven't prepared it, but we want to put together kind of like you guys did, recognizing all the village staff, just showing you, and we want to show the state because we want to apply for this grant again. The type of individuals that go through our program and the success stories they have with that. So like Tanya said, we have, medical director, doctors and yeah, it's a full spectrum and we're really proud. It's a lot of work. You can ask finance and everybody else, but it is a lot of work, but it gives you pleasure to know that you're helping somebody on their career path.
Where do they come from?
So they come from everywhere. We usually get some from the village that will apply. We'll advertise. We might get some from Rio Rancho, Albuquerque.
Are there more applicants than there are positions, or vice versa?
We're gonna see.
So Mayor, Council, I've been really bad in the past and I promised Chief I wouldn't do it. I'd write a grant for 200,000 and say I'm gonna hire 18 kids at 20 hours or 40 hours. And then I get all these kids that would come in that could work 15 or 20 hours and I'd feel really bad. So we'd run 40 people, which would be a lot and a lot. So this year we'll cap it at our 9, hopefully. If there's a few that have said we really want to do it, they can only do 20 hours a week. We might end up with 10 because it's really that funding amount that we have to look at. We'll see. We're going to pay $15 an hour this year. That's what I budgeted for because when I went to the YCC conference, everyone was saying they were having trouble finding any kids that didn't already have jobs, that they were already working. We try to work around sports. That's why I do it in the time frame we do it in. So we'll see. We're going to advertise in the next week or two and start hiring in the end of the month.
Is there a liability insurance question here? A liability insurance question for the village?
No, they're employees of the village. They're covered under all of our own insurance as far as liability. They have to follow all OSHA rules, so no one under the age of 18 can do firefighting. None of them can do hazardous materials. That was written into the state law. They can do no hazardous material cleanup. They can do firefighting. They can do any of that stuff. And then we did 1 year hire a 15-year-old. We loved having them, but 15-year-olds, 14 and 15-year-olds have to have work permits signed by their school counselor. They can't do anything. No one under 18 can use spray paint. They can paint with a paintbrush. We have to understand all those rules. And then those kids are like, but I cut trees down at home. And I'm like, cannot touch the chainsaw because you're not 18. So it is a lot of work on our staff. Will enjoys it, but at the end of it, it'll be like, thank you for the break because once again, they're teenagers.
Councilor Murray?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make a couple comments too. I wanted to thank number 31 on the rescue. Last week, I read that in the crime report. I thought that was pretty gutsy to go in there and
Very impressive. Yeah.
It was. Also, then another thought come to mind. How about, have we ever contemplated using goats in the bosque to
We use them.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. A few years back, we did a pilot project. As a matter of fact, I think it was 2020 during COVID. We did a pilot project. We tested 3 spots in the bosque, utilizing, I think it was like a total like 30, 40 goats. We focused on Rivanna grass to see the effects on the Rivanna grass, and the goats were able to take the Rivanna grass down to the ball. So it'd be like a multi-step process to remove it. We focused on salt cedar, Russian olives, a lot of the non-native. The part that we did have not difficult time, but it would be that was a concern was goats eat everything in their path. So we had to figure out how to corral them, or the contractor. We are in the process of trying to bring the goats back. The company, the gentleman that brought his goats out has, I think, over 200 goats now. So his business has taken off. I'm proud to say we were the first to do a pilot project with them. And so now other agencies, New Mexico State Forestry, they have them on the vendor list. And they're being utilized in Sandia, Valencia County, Rio Rancho. So we want to bring the goats back to Corrales for sure.
Good.
And they've made a lot of improvements to their program. They got these really cool little electronic fences now. So we can kind of herd the goats where we want them to be effective and not, eat the privet or the Mexico olive or the native plants. Yeah.
So, cool.
Well, okay, is that it?
That's it.
Let's call it a day then.
Right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.